it's a terrible feeling. We said at the All-Star break when we had our chance to have our little mini camp and kind of get ready for the stretch run, the 29 games. We wanted to put everything we could into it, and we went from 11 points down to 1 at one time, and it just it's a tough feeling. I know the guys they're hurting. Everybody, we all want to be in the playoffs. That's what our job is and our role is, and when you get the reality of it, it sucks.
I don't think Scott Arniel could say any better than that. It does suck. All 16 teams have been decided for the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs. Unfortunately, one of them will not be the Winnipeg Jets, as they lose to the Vegas Golden Knights last night 6-2, but the Los Angeles Kings also won their game in Seattle, so therefore eliminating the Winnipeg Jets from Stanley Cup contention. I'm Jamie Thomas. Welcome to Check In. The Winnipeg Jets will be taking on the Utah Mammoth a little bit later today. And of course, we will go over many things. Mark Scheifele setting the franchise record for most points in the season, surpassing Marian Hossa, and of course, looking ahead to the game itself. But in the meantime, Mitchell Clinton will join us a little bit later in the show from his hotel room in Utah. Before we do that, though, let's take care of some business. It is time for the Tim's Hockey Challenge. Just go to your phones. I'm sure you guys are there by now. Play for a chance to win for some free coffee. Sarah Oleski will not be with us for the remainder of the show, although she did do our interview with our key guest tonight. That is Scott Oake, who is calling it quits after almost 50 years in the broadcasting business. Go to the Tim's Hockey Challenge on the app right now. Pick your 3 players. If you get 7 consecutive days of choosing which player scores a goal in the evening's games, you will win yourself free coffee for a week. Today, my choices: Zach Rowinski, Adam Lowry, and Jamie Drysdale. Spin at those picks right now. And of course, if Sarah is watching right now, she can send us her picks a little bit later. Make sure you make yours and let us know in the chat. In the meantime, we tried to get Scott Oake on the show the other day. We failed. That was all our fault. But I assure you this time, we pre-recorded this interview, Sarah and I, with the legendary Scott Oake. It was made the other day that our good friend Scott Oake has decided to step away from at least the broadcasting side of his life. Scott, welcome to the show. When did you decide that this was the year that you were going to shut it down?
Oh, probably about 10 years ago. And it's already 2 years past my best plan. Before date. I think you could refer to me as a certified card-carrying liar, because I've been going around for 5 years saying, this is it. And I remember saying to, was it Calvin Pickard once in Edmonton, I probably won't be seeing you after this year. And he went, oh yeah, I'll see you back here next year. And there I was talking to him. I finally made the decision though, because I want to spend more time with my grandchildren. I want to be more present for them, and I want to spend more time working at the Bruce and Ann Oak Recovery Center projects. As you know, the Bruce Oak Recovery Center has been open for 5 years, doing great things, and the Ann Oak Family Recovery Center project is full steam ahead now. We have a lot of money left to raise, and I'll be spending a lot of time doing that.
Well, Scott, all the work that you've done within this community has been so great, and you've made such a difference, and you made such a difference in that element, but then also to all of us sports fans over the years as well. And I think about all of the accolades that you've received and all of the acknowledgments since your retirement announcement as well, including, I don't know if you saw this, that the CBC Sports put out a great video.
Yeah, so good.
Montage of you from over the years. Have you seen it? The one
I am aware of it, but I'm not looking at it, because why would I? So I can look in the mirror now and go, what the hell ever happened to me? So
between the callers, they start with you in a DeLorean.
Yeah, that was at the Grey Cup way back in I guess the late 80s, early 90s at BC Place. Look, I'm proud of my career, but I've never been great at taking a compliment, number one, and number two, this would be in defiance of what you should do in broadcasting, and that is I have a hard job looking at myself on tape, so I'm not looking at that retrospective piece.
Well, it was great, so you really should at some point in time, Scott, but I wanted to ask it. It did highlight a number of the different events that you covered over the years, and although in recent years we think of you so much as Hockey Night in Canada and Sportsnet, you've covered so many different sporting events, so many different sports in general. Is there a sport in particular other than hockey that you particularly enjoyed covering?
Well, first of all, I just to support that point, Sarah, I had to send a thank you to a guy who works at CBC Sports the other day, congratulated me in my retirement. And I said, I'm available for voiceovers on anything from darts to trampoline. And believe it or not, I covered both sports.
Darts, really?
I did the Canadian Trampoline Championships one year. I did the Canadian Darts Championships. The reason for that, though, is that we used to have an anthology show called Sports Weekend.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that was before the days of TSN and Sportsnet. So CBC Sports covered every sport there was in the country and almost obligated to cover Canadian championships in every sport. So on a given Saturday, I could be somewhere outside Quebec City covering speed skating or in Regina covering the Canadian Darts Championships. There wasn't much I didn't do. But as for the favorite, I suppose I really enjoyed World Cup skiing. I did that for many years with
Yes.
Caroline Gardner, who won the gold medal in Albertville in 1992. I think one of the reasons I enjoyed World Cup skiing was I was never great at play-by-play, and skiing was easy to do because there was only one person on the course at a time. But still, I could screw that up from time to time. But I really enjoyed the whole atmosphere around skiing, and race day was always special to see whether it was a man or a woman hurtling themselves down the course at 100 miles an hour. I guess winter's version of Formula One racing is very, was basically death defying. So I kind of gravitated to that sport, covered it at, I think, 3 Olympics with Karen as my analyst, and it was great.
Hey, you mentioned play-by-play. You were thrown into it one time at one Olympics. You had told me that you ordinarily did the interviews were rowing. You were thrown into the loop to do play-by-play for rowing. Can you share that story with us?
Well, that was in, I think it was Beijing. I covered 14 Olympics, and I've lost track of
Oh my gosh,
where each of them
yeah.
was. I was getting ready to leave the next day for Beijing, where I was supposed to be the on-site host for aquatics and for track and field, which I had done previously. And the executive producer called me just as I was zipping up my duffel bag with all my notes in it and said, I need you to do rowing. And I said, where? And he said, at the Olympics. And I was aghast, right? Because I said to him, I have never covered a regatta, and I don't think the Olympics would be the place to start. Chris Cuthbert's a very good friend of mine. I called him. This was before the days of YouTube, when you could go on YouTube and find, the 19 or the 2002 World Championships, and you could watch and figure something out with respect to how it was called, how the race started, etc., and how it finished. There was none of that available then, so I called Chris, and he sent me links for a couple of websites, printed off as much material as I could. I got on the plane.
Oh no. He wants to leave us. He knows that
He
the
wants to leave
key
us, yeah,
for
yeah.
a great
Yeah.
broadcast is that you want to leave them.
When you're a
he's leaving us hanging
storyteller, because that's a good story.
It's a great one.
tremendous story.
He's getting onto the plane.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen?
He's
It's
like,
the cliffhanger.
I'm gonna let
This
you
is
hang
what.
out here.
That's right.
Yeah. So
This is-
we'll effort to get Scott back, but the whole thing here is just an incredible career that he's had. I think it's imperative that we will talk about the Winnipeg Jets here.
Yes.
While Scott figures this out, we touched on at the top of the show about the struggles they had last night, and it's crazy to think now all the peaks and valleys we had here. I'm like, there's no way they're going to make the playoffs. There's no way oh my God, they're going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to make the playoffs. Like how many times you went back in that? And then even going into last night in Vegas, despite the fact they had lost 7-1 to Philadelphia, they're going, we've seen this so many times before.
Yeah.
When they're going to pull this out. But it looks like Scott's going to, there he is, he's back. So Sarah and I were just talking about how
Sorry.
you like cliffhanger. You're
My
like,
goal in
"Really?"
life is to start up every interview that I do online, and I've done it with you guys. Sorry.
Okay, so you're getting on the plane and you're about to take on rowing.
Yes, and so I read all the material I was able to cobble together in an hour, and then I sat there for the next 13 hours, because it's about a 14-hour flight, thinking, this is it. This is where they get me. This is where they find out I'm no good. And I was a bit unnerved, to say the least, but fortunately, the guy that I was covering rowing with was Barney Williams, who had rowed in the four for Canada at Greece, the previous Olympics in Athens, and he first time he was doing it, so he was just as nervous as me. So we sat down the night before every session, and I said, with respect to each race, give me two things I can ask you in each race to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, and he did. And that is how I faked my way through rowing at those Olympics. Again, a narrow escape.
I can't imagine the stress, Scott, to be honest, going on because before we had you on, Jamie and I were just talking off camera about the challenges of segueing from reporting to play-by-play. I mean, it's not one and the same, and you have such respect for the job that play-by-play people do, that to be able to do it at the level that you did at, and at the Olympics, no less, is such a testament to the skill that you have.
Well, nice of you to say, but I'll give you another great story. This was in
Segue.
I think it was. Listen, in broadcasting, everything's a segue.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure where this was. It might have been Nagano, but in any case, the way that things were approached at major events like the Olympics in the old days of the CBC was everybody should be able to do everything, which of course was ill-founded, but that was the attitude. So the executive producer of the Olympics called me. His name was Bob Moyer, and he said, tomorrow I need you to go over and call the play-by-play on the basketball game that's going to get Canada in or out of the medal round. And I said,
No.
What?
Come on.
So again, another sleepless night. How am I going to do this? I've never called basketball. Praise the Lord Jesus. When I got over there, three of the guys on it was Spain against Canada. Three guys on the Spanish team were named Fernandez. I had a 66 or a 75% chance of whatever the math is of getting it right. And again, I faked my way through that.
Hey, you've told me so many stories over the time I've got to know you, and I've always appreciated I grew up in Calgary, but always appreciated Don Whitman. Can you just share about your guys' friendship and relationship over the years?
Well, I came to Winnipeg Christmas of 1975 with the express purpose of replacing the late, great Don Whitman on the local sports as he was moving on to work full-time on the network. Don became a very good friend of mine, a mentor. Don Whitman was probably the best sportscaster in the history of live broadcasting and events, of calling any event that went up and down a field of play, whether it was a soccer pitch or a football field or an ice surface or anything going around in a circle. He was just amazing. He had an incredible power of recall and a gift of association where he rarely misidentified players. I can't ever recall him doing it, actually. And he was great at football, the voice of the CFL on CBC for many years. He was great at hockey. Don's voice is the one that you'll hear in those classic Calgary, Alberta, battles of, Calgary, Edmonton battles of Alberta. Track and field at the Olympics and curling. He was the signature voice on all of those sports, and that says a lot about his versatility and his talent, that he could succeed at every one of those sports and make it sound like he'd been calling them his whole life, which of course he had been. So yeah, he was truly one of the greats, and it was an outstanding benefit to my career to be associated with him and for him to be a friend of mine.
Scott, just before we let you go, 2018.
We're done?
We'll keep you all day.
I gave you 10 minutes. So we're at 11 right now. We're already maximizing our time here.
Yeah, but 3 of those is when we got cut off. So.
Okay, we're at 8 minutes then.
In 2018, and the Jets go on their run, and obviously that was when people really started to understand and appreciate what the whiteout could be in this Jets 2.0 era. And there's so many great images from that run, including obviously you out amongst your people in the streets. What was it like as a broadcaster and someone that, although you weren't born in Winnipeg, you are a Winnipegger through and through, to experience that and see the way that the city embraced it and the way that really the entire hockey fan everywhere have embraced Winnipeg in that run?
I don't think Winnipeg ever looks any better than it does during Jets playoff runs for however short or long they may be. It's just a whole different vibe around the city and downtown. And 2018 was really special. I mean, they went all the way to the conference final. I think that stand-up that you're referring to, Sarah, might have been done in the second round, and that would have been against Nashville.
Yep.
It was Minnesota, Nashville, Vegas.
Yep.
It turned out unbelievably well. I mean, we were taking a chance. I was standing on a camera crate with a piece of camera packing crate with a piece of plywood over it. And if I had turned the wrong way, it would have been one of those pieces of video that would play forever
on YouTube.
Great mistakes or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So I would have done the header right into the crowd. So I was standing there. I had to get up there probably about 5 minutes before we actually got to do it live, and audio checks, etc. But I couldn't move my feet at all. I remember that. And anyway, we got through it, and it turned out, as I said, well. I mean, it's sort of, I guess, one of the most enduring images that I have of my career. When I see that picture of me standing in that crowd, it looks like I'm Jesus speaking to my people, which is, of course, the desired effect. That's what I But it was neat, and it just illustrated what Winnipeg was all about and can be all about when the city gets behind something. And it's easy, of course, to get behind the Jets in a playoff run.
Scott, wish you all the best. Thank you so much for a tremendous broadcasting career. Thank you for all the stories that you've told me over the years. And I'll be bugging you way more down the road here because I know there's way more in there to tell.
Well, thank you, guys. It's only a matter of time before I'll be. Remember that guy that used to ask all the stupid questions on TV? Where is he now?
The Jets, unfortunately, won't have a playoff run this year, but next year, hopefully, if they do, you know what? We might see you out in that whiteout, Scott. You'll be the one that everyone's coming to find and ask questions in the street.
Well, I don't. That'll be if someone will come and get me out of assisted living to take me.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate your time.
The time so much, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations on a fantastic career.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Jamie. Take care.
Okay, it's only fitting that Scott Oake had technical issues during that interview, considering the first time we tried to bring him on, all the technical issues that he had. So he was telling me the story afterwards that when the screen went black there, someone had been phoning him, so he went to cancel the phone call, and that, of course, brought up the black screen. So we had a good chuckle about that. So many thanks to Scott Oake for everything he's done, and especially taking the time to interview with us, because I know he's been busy talking to so many people. Speaking of busy, Mitchell Clinton is one of the busiest men on earth for at least a few more days, to say the least, as the Winnipeg Jets have been officially eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. They'll take on the Utah Mammoth tonight. In joining us from his hotel room in Utah, behind the beautiful mountains, Mitchell Clinton joins us now. So, it's so weird, Mitch, because this is the first time the Jets have missed the playoffs since you've been in the broadcast booth. So your undefeated streak is over. Sorry about that.
Devastating, really.
It was a good run. Just if you had time to take it all in, considering what happened yesterday, especially from Saturday, because I thought the questions were really good afterwards from the media, and in particular Scott Taylor, about, after losing Saturday, maybe there was some leftover, remnants of kind of that disappointment. Your thoughts on the Jets missing the postseason in 2026?
Yeah, and I think the challenge that Winnipeg also faced, if you go into the last couple of games specifically, I believe, like, there were times over the course of the pursuit to try to get into the wild card spot where they would know, like, the night before, like, okay, LA won, we need to win to stay 3 points back or whatever. If memory serves me correctly, this would have been that game on Saturday against Philadelphia would have been the first time that I think it happened an hour or two before the game. While you're getting ready to go.
Right.
And Winnipeg won't use that as an excuse, because I think contextually it's a little bit different. You don't have necessarily the night to sleep it off, get up, get ready to go and do your job. You kind of have that feeling of, oh boy, another opportunity, if you will, especially given what Los Angeles' schedule looked like to close out the regular season. You have that game against Edmonton. You're like, well, if the Oilers can find a way in that one, you kind of have that kind of feel. And when it doesn't go your way, it's a little bit difficult. And I think Winnipeg still, ultimately would have liked to have done a lot of things better in that game against the Flyers. But then you come into Vegas, a team that's been on a roll, basically steamrolling right now with John Tortorella. And the Los Angeles game in Seattle started a little bit earlier. And so I think the players, just having been in T-Mobile Arena, kind of down in that bench area, I believe you can see the out-of-town scoreboard pretty easily. So you'd be out there maybe finishing warm-up or getting water on the bench, and you would be looking up at the scoreboard just to see time of game, whatever it may be. And you see, well, LA's up 3-0. So I think that there's, as much as you're a professional, you're zoned in on doing what you want to do and what you have to do. And I think overall, Winnipeg, as much as they only had 3 shots in the first period against Vegas, I think it was okay. They were doing all right, and kind of pushing back a little bit. And then the penalties happened, and it took a lot of the flow out of the game, in my opinion. But besides all of that, I just think, it was kind of a season where they started on the back foot just because of the injuries in camp. And then I feel like whenever there was some stability, there would be another injury. And then, of course, you would have also the fact that scoring was down for the team this year, but also just you have the 11-game skid in the middle of the season that they just couldn't quite seem to recover from, despite, there were a couple of times over the course of that skid where they get themselves into overtime. If you win that game, the skid stops, who knows? But that's kind of what this season's going to be, is you're going to be thinking of what could have been. You change a few of those overtime games, whatever it may be, you're always going to be wondering what could have been.
Hey, listen, Mark Scheifele has crossed off so many franchise marks this year. It just feels like every time there's a game, it's another franchise record that he's setting. Let's hear from Mark Scheifele and Scott O'Neil about Mark surpassing Marian Hossa for Jets 2.0, or the franchise, the Thrashers/Jets record book.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. I play with some amazing players. Very blessed man. Just got to thank God for it all, and I'm proud of myself, and I know there's still more, so that's exciting.
It's impressive, what the year he's had, through all the ups and downs of our season. He's been one of the consistent guys right from the start of the year to today, and he's one of our leaders, and I'm real proud of him. He's to get that many points, that's special, and he's been there. I don't think has a lot like Dale. There was not a lot of league recognition or sort of recognition around around the countries, and Mark's kind of been under the radar a lot that way, and I think him, KC, people are starting to recognize Josh Morrissey there, that we have some elite players in Winnipeg.
Well said by Scott O'Neil. Listen, you always want these special moments to happen in a win, but I guess to get it over with in that fashion, especially to pass Marian Hossa with a goal, was great. And it must have been nice to be in the building for it to see it live.
Yeah, it was. And what helped was the fact that, it was a play where you knew that Scheifele was picking up the secondary assist.
Yeah.
It wasn't one where you were kind of guessing and you're like, oh, maybe he touched it, maybe he didn't, that part was nice.
Replay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Paul Edmonds and I kind of after the game were talking about what would you have preferred, his goal being point number 100 or his goal being 101, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the back and forth that we had. I'm just glad that, Mark Scheifele was able to hit that. And then the next thing for me, because this is, what we do and what athletes do, you start looking ahead again. And if he's able to possibly duplicate this type of season next year, could very well see Mark Scheifele get not only the silver stick next year, but also the gold stick for 1,000 points. And that would be something that's really, really cool for Jets fans to be able to see. So obviously you cross the fingers that everything goes well for Mark Scheifele again next season, and then even better for the team as a collective. But yeah, just kind of start to finish this season, Mark Scheifele's been kind of that constant for Winnipeg, and has found ways to produce in a season where Winnipeg's scoring was down a little bit. He found a way to contribute even more. And the other thing for me with that is as much hard work as Winnipeg's put in on the power play, their power play hasn't been as proficient as last year.
Right.
So that means a lot of these points that Mark Scheifele's been able to get have been at 5-on-5. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Here's another thing too, Mitch, to think about, overlooked with the Olympics for Hockey Canada now with the World Hockey Championships looming and Mark having the season that he is. You have to wonder if there's another opportunity for him for Hockey Canada coming up in May.
Yeah, exactly. And spoiler alert for people that are big avid listeners of the 680 CJOB pregame show, Paul Edmonds' one-on-one is with Mark Scheifele today. I haven't heard it yet, so I wonder if he asked that question, but the conversation between those two is always really, really good, regardless of if they talk about Worlds or not. But I've wondered that as well, if that's something that Mark Scheifele wants to do. I always wonder too when the timing is.
Yes,
management of a team like that to make those phone calls and be like, "Hey, I know you're disappointed, but like what is the time?
You get another chance."
Yeah, because they obviously have a job to do. They put a team together. They got to put the logistics in place. So I've always wondered when that phone call actually happens. So obviously we'll find out over the next little bit if that's something that Mark Scheifele wants to do. I mean, he's always been a guy that loves to play the game. You just never know what, I guess, players are potentially dealing with over the course of a season and whether it would be better off for them not to go. But we will find out. And if Mark Scheifele goes, I think it would be a really cool thing for Jets fans to be able to watch him put that Canada jersey on.
Braden Joerger has put on the Canadian jersey many times in his young career, certainly as a junior hockey player. Got his opportunity last night with his parents, and I believe his brother was in the stands for his first National Hockey League game. You mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a ton of penalties in the second period. Only played just under 10 minutes. Just overall, what do you think of Braden Joerger's debut in the National Hockey League?
Yeah, and just it was weird to see, if only because Adam Lowry, I believe, took the first penalty of the game for Winnipeg. And you think of the centers that Winnipeg has, he and Morgan Barron are basically the guys that hop over the boards first on the PK. So now neither of them are available. So Braden Joerger got a little bit of time on the PK last night. So that was nice to see for him. He's always been kind of that responsible two-way type of center that the team can rely on. But how about that? In your first NHL game, you're hopping out there against a penalty or a power play like the one that Vegas has been rolling with, especially over the last dozen games or so. I thought he was good. And I don't know if this is just my opinion, but when he was in preseason, and it's hard to really get a full measure of players in the preseason just because they're getting back into game action. But you compare that Braden Joerger to the one that the Winnipeg Jets saw last night in Vegas. I felt like there was a little bit more pace to his game, a little bit more confidence to his game at the pro level. And I think that speaks volumes about the year that he's had with the Manitoba Moose in terms of the development that he's been able to have. Scored 10 goals. He's got 30 points with the Moose and was named the Rookie of the Year as well. So, I mean, that was something that really shows kind of how well he's been able to develop there. Obviously, that's a group that's going to the postseason, so a big congrats to them. And he's going to have a big part of that. And you just think of the games that you get to play in terms of experience at the pro level, his first pro season, it's really important for him. And then you come in and you play your first NHL game against Vegas, a team that, had kind of hit their troubles after the Olympics, but has been phenomenal hockey over the last 6 or 7 games here now. And so now he's going out there up against Eichel, Thomas Hertl, what I mean? It's just
no big deal. No big deal.
Yeah. So, and on top of that, not only are you going out there and playing against them, but Vegas had a lot to play for last night. Utah's got a lot to play for tonight. So you're playing in some games with some consequence as well against teams that are desperate and playing a playoff style game. I mean, that can only help Braden Joerger. I'm sure that, he was possibly a little bit wide-eyed, a little bit excited early on. And why wouldn't you be? But now I think now that you have the first game jitters kind of out of the way, curious to see. I assume we haven't heard anything, but I assume the lineup will be pretty close to what it was in Vegas last night for Winnipeg against Utah tonight. I would imagine, him getting his second game. I wonder if the nerves are down a little bit and he's able to just kind of play the game that he would like. But I thought he played quite well for his NHL debut.
Yeah, and hopefully not as many penalties tonight in Utah as there was in Vegas to get his ice time up a little bit higher than 10 minutes. Mitch, listen, appreciate all the work that you've done this year so far. Still 2 more games to go, and appreciate you coming on the show frequently on check-in as the season wore on. So have a great call tonight, and thanks again for your time.
Of course, no problem. Always a joy to join you fine people.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem. See you later.
Mitchell Glenn from Utah. As promised, so we're not sure about the lineup, so make sure you tune in to CJOB for the pregame show, and boys in the booth will have some information about who's in the lineup and who's not. And if I had to guess, for sure now Eric Comrie will likely have to start. And keep in mind, he's 6-0 since changing his mask to the white bars, and of course that was after the January 1st start in Toronto. As promised, I was supposed to run the Scott Oake tribute video before the interview, but as promised, here it is, courtesy of CBC Sports.
Join us on CBC Sports for 5.5 hours of Grey Cup coverage. But first, come with me as I embark on a memorable trip back in time.
That, I think, was indicative of the banner year that college sport in Canada has had.
Well, wrestling is a funny business on some occasions. If Victor Zilberman had won that bout, he would have been Canadian champion. But
good evening. In sports tonight, Bobby Hull scores number 1,000.
The fans have packed Dodger Stadium all week long. The NHL will be a 21-team league next season.
Well, Michael, as you said, it was easy to see De La Rose coming through with a victory in the inaugural E.P. Taylor Stakes. The Flames and Jets went through their final preparations this morning. In Christchurch in 1974, Canadian wrestlers established themselves as number 1 in the Commonwealth.
If economics is the determining factor, don't be surprised if the Jets end up playing elsewhere next season.
There have been some positive signs in the CFL this year, among them an increase in our ratings for telecasts of Saturday Night Football, which makes us just as happy as it makes the CFL. Good to see you. How you doing?
Welcome to Hockey Night in Canada Presents. I'm Scott Oake.
You almost tripped the cameraman.
Yeah, sorry there, Bile. It's the first hit I've thrown all game.
If we were to pick 3 storylines for this race, they would be Lindsey Vonn, and the third one?
Lindsey Vonn.
Absolutely.
You know all about Hockey Night in Canada.
Oh, yeah. Don Cherry and I used to go on road trips together. Yeah. We spent a lot of time in Yellowknife. Yeah, hanging out.
And then there's the bromance. Usain Bolt and Andre DeGrasse in the 200 final tonight.
Let's start with the important question. How many of those towels do you have?
Scotty, let me ask you, what defines this team?
This is Scott Oake reporting from the Centre Maisonneuve.
The Dogfather, D.O. Jizzy. Big ups on this Crunk Planet. What's crackling, nephew?
Hey, what's up, baby Bob? I like the way you said that.
It's not my first rodeo.
And I was very, very entertained. I hope the Canadian public was too.
Whoa.
All right, great stuff from CBC Sports for the great Scott Oake. Many thanks to Scott for coming on the show and talking with Sarah and I. And of course, many thanks to Mitchell Clinton. Many thanks to you for taking in this broadcast of the check-in. We have one more to go. That comes this Thursday and the final home game of the 2025-2026 regular season. Jets have been officially eliminated. They will take on the San Jose Sharks this Thursday. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody. Thanks for watching.